Hey, Lee Robinson here from American Sentinel Canine, and in this video we are going to discuss being a good student. So I've had several videos on selecting your teacher wisely. Do your research on your research, meaning you might hear somebody that offers an opinion or a thought, and maybe at first it sounds valid and good, but if you check into that individual, you might find that perhaps they don't have the experience or knowledge and proof of concept that they want you to believe that they really have. So before you take advice on something that sounds good, actually look at that person's credentials and see if they know what they're talking about. Now, on that said, there are times that I will answer a question to one person and refuse to answer maybe even the exact same question to somebody else. And the reason for that is because some people approach me with disrespect, and I'm not interested in talking to them because they're not interested in actually having a conversation where two minds can go back and forth and share ideas and concepts in order to pursue truth. Sometimes you'll find individuals that just want to win an argument, and they just want to prove that they're right without even understanding or still manning the concept that comes from the opposing viewpoint. And if that's the type of person that I'm talking to, if I'm dealing with somebody that misrepresented and therefore attempt to win the argument. I'm not interested in debates. I'm interested in sharing knowledge. I'm interested in both people growing, but I want discussions, not debates. Meaning if you're trying to win, because see, the goal in a debate is not to seek truth. The goal in the debate is to win the argument. A debate is a competition. A discussion is about growth. So I'm willing to discuss things with people, but I'm not going to debate with people. And somebody might say, well, Lee, it kind of sounds like you're making another fallacy, not the straw man, not the straw man fallacy, but the argument of authority fallacy. And to a degree, the argument from authority is indeed a fallacy, because if something is valid and true, it doesn't require someone in authority to be able to disprove it. However, a person who does not have the authority may not actually know if an argument is proven. They may know if it's disproven, but they usually don't know if it's proven. So disproven and proven are not exactly the same thing. They may be the same coin, but they're opposite sides. And we'll discuss a particular topic of conversation that I've seen from one individual who's tried to attack me or disrespect me and debate me, but has not been interested in truth. And I have basically ignored this person for over a year. And that is, you might see an occasional video where the handler is managing a dog, but a decoy might put their hand on the dog's head or even grab the collar. And this person that wants to argue with me says, if I can grab your dog's collar, then I can stab him with a knife. Well, while that might sound true to a person that doesn't have experience, I'm going to today take the time to explain the ignorance and mistakes that this person's making. Why am I doing it if I don't argue with people who want to debate and argue and want to be disrespectful? Well, it's because recently I had another person ask the same question, and that's because they were not trying to argue. They just wanted to understand. Why does the decoy grab the dog's collar, and why does the decoy or agitator or helper, whatever you want to call it, sometimes pat the dog on the head? Well, maybe they even got that question from the same hater. But this is a person, the second person is actually seeking knowledge. They're not seeking conflict or argument. So I'm going to consider them to be a potential student rather than somebody that just wants to debate. Because you don't have to agree with me, but you need to at least understand what's going on before you argue against a straw man. You need to understand what is going on when they're holding the collar, what appears to be petting the dog on the head. You need to understand what that's really about before you try to break it down, because it's not about praising the dog. Now, in sport, you may pat the dog on the head from time to time and praise the dog and tell the agitator may help the dog by saying good boy and whatnot. In protection work, I never want my agitator to say good boy. I never, ever want my agitator to praise or correct that dog in a way where the dog thinks he's supposed to listen to the agitator. The dog should say, I don't care what the agitator says. However, the dog should certainly care what the handler says. So let me step into a kennel over here. Let me give it a quick rinse first. I'll step in this kennel here with Scratch, and I'll show you what's going on when the helper is actually handling the dog by the collar, or what appears to be petting the dog on the head. All right, so just give me just a minute. Now, why might a person argue that thing for over a year? Well, these types of people that don't want to be a good student, they live in an echo chamber and they hear themselves saying something over and over again without ever really seeking to understand the concept. And because of that, every time they holler, they just keep getting more and more confident that they're right, because they talk all the time and they don't ever listen. See, you were given one mouth and two ears. Listen twice as much as you talk, and that includes me too. Like I said, when I go to Ivan Balabanov's place, I'm there to listen. All right, so we'll see if we can do this with Scratch here. Scratch, come here. Good boy. All right, so now I've got him by the collar, and he can't get down. I'm holding him. Yes, I could let him go at any time, and I will, because I'm not going to keep doing it. But when he's up here in my arm, come here, Scratch. Let's say he bites me on the shoulder, or the bicep. If he bites me on the bicep, come here, Scratch. Good boy. When I'm holding him right here, I can keep him over here, keep him out of my face. See how a minute ago he was wanting to say hello to my face, and now he can't do it. So when I'm holding this dog by the collar, if he comes off that bite, I can, one, feel it, and two, I can restrain him to keep him away from my face, because the bicep is literally 6 inches, 12 inches away from my face. And what if I look up at the handler? If I look at the handler, because the handler and I are communicating, I've now taken my eyes off that dog. If I look away, that dog might perceive my looking away as finding a path to flee. And that stimulates prey drive in a dog. So if I look away, that dog may come off that bicep bite and try to get me in the face. And if I'm holding him, I'll feel him coming off the bite, and I can restrain him from my face. So that's what holding the collar is about. It's about safety of the decoy. Now, you can also do some rewarding on the bite, but it's not verbal rewards. It's like a dog pushing a button and getting food. They think that they're causing the punishment or reward from internally of their own behavior. But when the decoy feels that dog punching in, he can take slack off the collar, which that dog now feels like, ooh, I'm winning. Okay, see how he's in my face, right? And then now he's not, right? So I can pull them away from that because they're only standing on their back legs. And so you can reward and punish the ideal bite, so to speak, to try to get that dog to drive in and take their opposition down to the ground by holding them on the collar. And you can feel the change in the dog's behavior. That's why you hold the collar. The other reason, the other thing that we were talking about, putting your hand on the dog's eyes. Remember when I looked away and the dog might think I was running? Before I go to run away, I have to see that path. Come here, Scratch. Come here, Scratch. Good boy. Well, guess what happens when I cover his eyes? I am not providing any physical stress to that dog. I just blocked his vision, right? But I am providing mental stress because I have now denied him the ability to see a path of escape. And when I provide that mental stress to see if the dog, or to deny that dog the path of escape, some dogs will panic. They may be willing to attack if they're in a corner because they have no path of escape, but that dog is not seeking or necessarily wanting to be in that conflict. They are trapped. In a protection situation, your dog's probably not going to be trapped. He's probably going to be in your home off leash and has free access to go anywhere, and he can run away from an attacker at any moment by just going to another part of the house. Or you may be walking on a leash, and that dog, if you're attacked, the dog could go behind you, or if you let go of the leash, perhaps even run away. So it's important in a protective situation that you have a dog that's willing to stay in combat, whether the option for flight is available or not. I want to see if the dog is confident when it's in both prey and defense. And when I cover that dog's eyes, I'm denying them the path of flight, which will sometimes put a prey-driven dog into a more evasive or defensive or fleeing mindset. Well, anyway, I think you understand that it's not about petting the dog to say, good boy, good boy. Now, they might do that, like I said, in a sport, because in a sport, there's no conflict. It's a game. And so it's okay if the helper or decoy praises your dog so the dog does better at the game. But in protection, you don't have a helper. You have an agitator. And an agitator should be the last person your dog listens to. Now, if you see me training and my agitator praises the dog, and because he's trying, instead of being an agitator, he's becoming a helper or a decoy, you will probably see me say, please don't praise my dog. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want them to put their hand over the dog's eyes. They can put their hand over the dog's eyes, but I want it to be a method of seeing if that dog will look for flight when it's put. Will it look for flight when the option for flight is denied? Also, even better, it can be used to get a dog to counter, because there are dogs that when you cover their eyes and you start to put them in defense, sometimes the best defense is an offense, and that dog will realize that you're applying stress and pressure on them, and what do? They punch in even deeper. So it's a good way to get a counter. So a person, agitator, might put their hand over the dog's eyes, the dog punches in, and they remove their hand. They're actually rewarding the dog for punching in by removing the mental stress that is applied on the dog. So there you go. The guy that says, I could cut your dog's neck with my knife if you did that. But before you do that, you're going to take a bite. And you're going to take a nasty bite. And maybe you get that knife, maybe you drop it. You don't know if you will. You just know that in theory you could. But are you willing to do it? If you're not willing to do it, my protection dog did its job. Y'all take care. I hope that this brought some insight to the topic of why somebody might have an agitator hold the dog's collar, and why they might cover the eyes, and why I might answer that question for one person and not another person. Two people asking the same question. One gets respect and gets an answer. The one seeks conflict and wants to try to win an argument instead of understand the truth. Who are we going to talk to? I'm going to look for the good students. I am old enough that it's time for me to continue to learn, but also pass on the knowledge of what I've already learned to good and willing students. I'm not interested in talking to people that already have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, and neither do you. And if you have 1/10 of the experience that I do, then you certainly don't have the answers. On this thought, research the concepts, but also research the person behind the one that's teaching the concept. Make sure that they have proof of concept and not just theory, because practice proves what's true. Y'all take care. Have a blessed day.